What's going on, guys? Today I'm flying out the American B-57a. It's a jet bomber that was added in the 1.43 patch. Prior to that patch, the only jet bomber in War Thunder was the German Arado. The Arado had a kind of a cult little following because it was a rather unusual plane. All it was a bomber, literally. It didn't have any front guns, it didn't have any rear guns. All it was a jet bomber in the strictest sense of the term. So all you could do really is to drop your bombs and head back to base. Some people eventually took advantage of the fact that you could put a delay on your bomb so that after you dropped it and hit the ground, it would wait a couple of seconds before it blew up, and the bombers would get really low and drop a bomb just as a fighter was closing in on them, and of course the bomb would blow up the enemy aircraft that was chasing them. As you can imagine, that kind of thing led to some pretty funny videos on YouTube. One of them even made Fly Daily's top 5 at one point. Anyway, as for the B-57, it is similar to the Arado in that all it is a bomber. It doesn't have any guns whatsoever. Therefore, after you drop your bombs, you're pretty much useless. All you can do is go back to base, if you have a base, and rearm. Other than that, there's really nothing else to do. And on the Iwo Jima map, your options are pretty limited as to what you can actually do after you drop your bombs. You can't even go back to base. There is no base. Because the Americans on this particular map launch from carriers. It's not possible to land a B-57a jet bomber on a aircraft carrier. It's just too big, too fast. It's just not going to happen. I'll take a couple of shots here. I'm really booking it towards the enemy base. All we can do really on this particular map is bomb the base. On some Pacific maps, the Japanese launch from carriers, just like the Americans. So what you'll often see is a base rush of sorts for the carriers. Typically there are 3, maybe 4 on some maps, but 3 carriers. If you blow up those 3 carriers, you win the game. So there are a lot of games that have a lot of B-57s where they only last like 5 minutes at the most. That makes for some pretty crappy games with this thing, I have to admit. It reminds me of some of the problems with arcade battles in the higher tiers. After about tier 3 in arcade, all you get is base rushing with B-17s and Year 2s and Dornier 217s. So with all those bombs being dropped, they tend to end matches pretty quickly. That's one of the reasons I don't play War Thunder arcade a whole lot anymore. But I digress. As for this map, Iwo Jima, there's really nothing else for me to do. You know, I dropped my bombs, now what else can I do? Really nothing. At one point I considered trying to lure the enemy fighters towards our fighters, you know, essentially acting as bait. Unfortunately, our fighters get reduced pretty quickly. They get worked pretty hard by the N1Ks and the G.SKILL on this Japanese team. One of the only other options I can do is basically just drag the match out, use my 50 plus minutes of fuel, and literally just drag this match out until either the enemy team quits or they manage to catch me. Now I'm not going to show you this entire match because it went on forever. I actually did try to be one of those assholes who dragged this match out forever, and it lasted for I would say about 23 minutes. Yeah, it went on forever. It came down to one fighter on the enemy team and just myself. Everyone else on my team was dead or left. Some of them that were in the B-57 literally just bailed. They didn't want to wait anymore, and I frankly don't blame them. So instead of making you wait for 23 plus minutes, I'm just going to cut right to the end of the match, and you can see what kind of shape my plane is in. Here we transitioned into the end of the battle. You can see my right engine is out for the most part. My left engine is overheated and on the way to dying. I'm losing altitude, and the last guy alive. I've actually offered myself up to him just as a free kill, but he actually bailed. I don't know why. I don't know if he doesn't speak English or what. But you can see the American ground forces are starting to capture the island. And it frankly can't come fast enough because I'm losing altitude pretty quickly here because that left engine is overheated. I'm just about to die, I have to say. As far as the kind of issues you're going to face with this plane that I haven't talked about is, I have to mention the G-forces, negative G-forces specifically. If you're going really fast and you try to go into a dive, even a slight dive, you're going to rip your wings. You really want to watch your speed when you go into a dive. The negative G's will rip your wings right off. Yeah, let's get on being infuriating. Also, I'm not entirely sure what happened to my engines. I don't specifically recall seeing the engines take any damage from the 20mm cannons that were fired, but anything's possible. There could be a bug with the engines, and I'm not really sure. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Leave a comment in the section below. If you're new to the channel, subscribe.